Well, hello again. Ken Whiting here, host of Paddle Tales, and this week we're going to talk about kayak fishing on flowing rivers. Top tips. Flowing rivers with current, you can get yourself into some trouble pretty quick. And most kayak anglers are anglers first and paddlers second. In fact, they might call themselves paddlers third or fourth. But when you're fishing on flowing rivers and paddling on flowing rivers, you do need to keep some things in mind because things can go wrong quick. Before we get into it, please subscribe to Paddle TV if you haven't already, because we got lots of tips coming your way. And do check out the Paddle Tales series, and that's actually what I'm loading up for right now. We're heading to the Petawawa River for a 6-day, multi-day kayak fishing trip through an epic wilderness area. But as I was loading the kayak, I realized, okay, we can talk about, it's something I've been thinking about and preparing for this trip is, how am I going to rig the kayak? What considerations do I need to have for fishing and paddling a 6-day trip on a flowing river that's got whitewater, it's got a lot of flat water and lakes, it's got a variety of terrain. So what do you need to know? Well, first of all, this is a paddle kayak. This isn't a pedal kayak. We're going through whitewater. We're going through some very shallow areas. The pedal kayaks have gotten really good, but paddle kayaks is definitely the way to go on rivers that have current and shallow spots and rapids. That's the first thing. Now, the second thing is most fishing kayaks these days, quality fishing kayaks, come with seats that accommodate a high position and a low position. Now, the high position is awesome when you're in calm bodies of water, but your center of gravity is higher. You're a lot tippier when you're in that high position. The benefits are you get a better vantage point. You can see the underworld better, especially if you're wearing a good pair of polarized sunglasses. So for flowing rivers, whenever there's any current, drop that seat. Keep it in the low position and only move it into the high position when you know you're in calm, protected waters. A lot more stable from this position. In terms of gear, what to bring, I would highly recommend packing light. You need to be able to rig your kayak, as we say, rig to flip. Meaning expect to flip and make sure that everything is either attached or stowed, so that if you do flip, you're not going to lose anything. That means bringing fewer rods than you might normally bring. That means bringing less tackle. Be more methodical about choosing what tackle to bring and what to leave home. Not only is it you're more prone to losing gear, but the extra weight doesn't help when you're dealing with whitewater or even just fast-moving water. It can really bog you down and slow down your response time, your maneuverability. So minimize the gear you bring and rig it with the assumption that you're going to flip. Now that's a lesson I've learned the hard way, not kayak fishing, but with different types of multi-day paddling trips. A Grand Canyon in particular, a group of us, on the very first day, we were told to rig to flip. We didn't, and we lost pretty much all our food, 21 days of food for 16 people. And obviously it put a little pause on the trip as we got restocked. And I'll never forget that. And I've watched a lot of people. I do a lot of filming with Chad Hoover. He's the kayak fishing master. And a couple of river trips we've done, he's had some guests who didn't rig to flip and they lost all their tackle. And it's a sad thing to watch. It's kind of funny until you realize they lost all their gear. But I don't want to see that happen to anybody else. So another thing to know about kayak fishing in flowing rivers is what to do around rocks when you're in current. The rocks, especially the ones, just under the surface as well as the ones above the surface, you can easily get taken into them. When you're kayak fishing, oftentimes your focus is on fishing and you drift into things. The natural reaction when you drift into a rock sideways, current takes you into a rock, is to lean away from that rock. Now, you don't want to do that with any type of kayak, not just fishing kayak. You actually want to lean into the kayak. And the reason being is if this is a rock and you're drifting into the rock and you hit the rock, the current is still pushing you, but your kayak is no longer moving. And so if you lean away, the current builds up on your edge and will flip you. And it'll flip you remarkably quickly. Whereas if you lean downstream into the rock, the current gets to go under. You're giving it a path underneath the boat, and it actually helps to keep your boat upright and above the water. So lean downstream, lean into the rock that you've drifted into, and then slowly push yourself around that rock and move on. And it doesn't take much current when you drift up sideways into a rock to flip your kayak. Current is the biggest hazard. And so that's also a key consideration when anchoring. If you like to anchor your kayak, what you don't want to do for that exact same reason as the water piling up on the side is you don't want to ever anchor your kayak in current from its side. If you, let's say the current's coming this way and you're floating along and you drop your anchor from the side, your anchor grabs, now your kayak stops, the water's still coming, it's going to pile up on that edge and flip you. So if you're anchored up by your side, you have to maintain a downstream tilt on your kayak. But that's not easy to do, just to maintain a downstream edge on your kayak. To be quite honest, your best bet is not to anchor in flowing water. I just wouldn't. It's too risky. But if you are dead set on anchoring, anchor from the ends of your kayak. That way, if you're anchored from the stern of your kayak, the current's going this way, when that anchor clicks in, your boat will pendulum downstream and it'll be pointing in the same direction as the current, and there's no water to build up, or at least not much. If the current's going fast enough, it will pile up even on the front or back of your kayak if you're anchored. And that's why my general rule is don't anchor. If I really need to anchor and I'm on a river, well, maybe I'm best off actually beaching, get out of the kayak, drag the kayak on shore and fish from shore for a while if I want to stay in one place. So there you have it. What I think are some of the most important tips for paddling and kayak fishing in flowing rivers. Flowing rivers are incredible places to catch fish because a lot of people don't go there. But there's a reason people also don't go there too, is because there's a little bit more risk out there. Be conservative, don't bring much gear, avoid anchoring, and enjoy your time on the water. Catch big fish. I'm Ken Whiting. Thanks for watching. Do check out the Paddle Tales episode from the Petawawa River trip that we're doing. The full episode is going to be linked in the description box below, and we got lots more cool Paddle Tales adventures coming your way too.